Alright, here's my latest progress. As you can see, the world's changed a lot. There's water in trees now. And the textures are not upside down, they're not sideways. I've added support for partially transparent textures like these leaves, where some pixels are opaque and some are transparent, but there's no translucent ones. These were pretty easy to do. All I had to do was discard any pixels that weren't opaque. Now something a little harder was adding the water, because I had to. The thing about transparent drawing is you have to draw all the non-transparent things before you draw the transparent things in order of how far away it is from you. And so far all I do is I just draw the world and then I draw the water on top of that, and that seems to work out pretty well, except for certain scenarios where here I've added flowing water too as well. So if you look from this direction, you can see two layers of water. You can see this one right here and this one right here. But if you look from this direction, you don't see two layers of water. Or from this direction. You only see a single layer all the way through. But if you look from here, there's like 10 layers. Why does that happen? Well, the reason is that it draws these chunks first. So it draws this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. So it draws water, and then it draws more water on top of that, and more on top of that, and more on top of that, and more on top of that. But when we're over here, it's already drawn this, it's drawn this, and once it draws water once, it doesn't draw any more water behind it. And so I checked how Minecraft does it, or I checked what it looks like in Minecraft, and in Minecraft it looks like this from every angle. It always looks like a single layer of water. And I spent some time wondering how to do that, and then I asked around on Reddit, and someone gave me the amazing idea of first rendering all the water on a single, rendering all the water completely opaquely, and then making it all transparent at once. That way it all looks like a single, or it should look like a single layer of water. That's what I'm going to try to implement later. Then I added this blue tint underwater, makes it nice and scary. And while we're here, so since I'm doing greedy meshing, I have a problem with tjunctions, which are tiny little dots that can, I'll show you. Tjunctions are like this. Here's the top of the T, here's the top of the T, and here's the line of the T. The problem is that at this vertex right here, where the top of the T and the line of the T meet, there's a chance that the GPU won't draw it properly, and it'll leave a tiny crack. So on this side of the T top, the line is going to go straight. But on this side of the T, the line might curve a bit up and then go back down, or it might curve a bit down and then go back up. So this point might not line up with the line perfectly, and as a result, it might shine through. It might not draw anything there, and the background might shine through. And if I turn off my T-junction fixing program, you'll actually see that little white pixels shine through all the time. It's not really visible up here because it's bright, but down here it's super visible. And how I fixed this was creating a filter which checks, it goes through all the colors and depths, and then it checks if the pixel has a depth that's way too big, like it clearly wasn't changed or drawn on, then it just averages the color and depth around that pixel. So as you can see, there's a pixel line on the very right, and that gets fixed too because it only averages colors from two sides. So it's smart enough to, I'll toggle it on and off. It's smart enough to only to average the color and depth from the top and bottom, since that's where the real depths are, and not on the sides. Right, I added flowing water. I added a debug menu. It's super useful. Give me the FPS, the draw distance, my position, direction I'm facing, which block I'm looking at, whether I'm in water, but that's kind of obvious. And also which block I'm holding. And now I can scroll and change the block that I'm holding. And now if I scroll down to stone, I can place stone. Scroll up to water, place water. Now so I made the source of my water have a slightly different color so I could tell where it is. Now let's try and block that source and see what happens. The water slowly dries out. Every block of flowing water has a height associated with it, or a water level. And then when we remove the original block, every tick the water level reduces by 1, and then it propagates to all the nearby blocks. So it's not as good as Minecraft's yet. There's some extra stuff I need to add for Minecraft level, but that's pretty hard. I'm going to try to add that in the future. And one of the best parts, one of my favorite changes, is that I added frustum, I don't know how to pronounce it, culling. So now the game only draws the chunks that are inside of my viewing frustum, that are in front of me basically. So nothing behind me is getting rendered unless I look behind me. If you look at the FPS, if I look around really quickly, it's going to drop significantly because the GPU keeps having to access a lot of different memory. It can't cache very well, unlike when I stare at a single place. And the CPU can't cache very well because it goes through different chunk objects depending on which ones are loaded and which ones are not. Which ones are inside our view and which ones are not. And then, if you'll remember, generating new chunks was super slow before. For a couple of reasons. Some because my algorithms weren't as good as they are now. But the biggest difference is that now I'm generating new chunks on a new thread. So on this thread, it's super smooth, even while new chunks are being generated and loaded. You can see 23 render distance. I'm going to bump it up to 40, and you're going to see it slowly increase and propagate out. Oh, let me fix. Yeah, I can see tjunctions. I'm going to turn back on the fixer. Okay, go 40. And there you go. Propagates so fast, barely had time. Okay. Right, and then so the mesh generation is so fast now. The GPU handles all the mesh generation that I can even destroy a block, and the mesh gets instantly regenerated, usually before the frame is even over. See, you don't even see a glimmer of because right now there's nothing behind this block. There's nothing. If I remove it, I should immediately see through it. I should see the background behind it. But the mesh generation is so fast, it regenerates the textures. It recreates the mesh behind this block before the new frame even appears. Of course, if I find a corner of a chunk to do it at, that's going to be harder for it. It might not be able to keep up. Let's try it out. 64, 16, negative 16Z. Okay, and 80, 96, negative 96X should do. There we go. So somewhere around here, if we delete blocks, we might see a tiny glimpse of the background. No, it's just way too fast. It's way too fast. And that's only with one, that's only having one thread generating meshes. Imagine if we had 4, oh my goodness. Okay, so basically everything's a lot smoother, a lot faster, a lot more pleasant. Yep. That's it. Next time, hopefully, I'll have some better water propagation algorithms and maybe even the ability to draw all water the same way.